When you speak, when you talk about, um, when you listen to the conscious community, sometimes you think of people that are just full of talk and full of rhetoric. Sometimes, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, uh, full of talk. He talked about killing white babies and all this, full of talk. Never killed anybody. But we saw what the little white boy did. Went in there and killed 9 black folks in a church. And we saw what the other person did, half white, whatever, George Zimmerman did. And all these killings were race related. But you never see any retaliation from the black community. We so quick to forgive, and we're pretty much decent, good people. Basically. We don't have this hate in us. This mental disability. We don't have this hate in us. We can't. Seems like we're not able to conduce this mental disability of hate that this Caucasian has. And for what? Why does this Caucasian, he has no reason to hate black people. That's the craziest thing about it. This fool has no reason to hate blacks. Now, blacks have a reason to hate Caucasians. Yes, we do have a reason. We was the one that was enslaved for 400 years. We should have a chip on our shoulder. But it's just completely opposite. These fools have no reason to hate. It's the craziest, sickest. That just tells you it's something mentally sick in this Caucasian man. But anyway, this video is about Brian Nichols. Hero or villain, you decide. For those of you who don't know Brian Nichols, this is an interesting story, which I think the conscious community would appreciate. But Brian Nichols was in Atlanta, was living in Atlanta on March 11th, 2005. Well, Brian Nichols was in court. He was arrested and in court and was on trial for the rape of his ex-girlfriend because she had moved on with her life and was dating the preacher. And I guess Brian Nichols wanted vengeance, wanted to, take out revenge on her. So as we know it, they say he raped her. I don't know the details of it, but he was on trial for rape pretty much. And this was the second trial because the first trial was a hung jury or something like that. But anyway, during this trial, and I'm going to read what happened. On March 11, 2005, Nicholas overpowered a sheriff's deputy while changing clothes. Now, this was a black female sheriff's deputy. He punched her into a coma and he stole her gun. Now this motherfucker practiced some form of martial arts. This motherfucker was strong. So he punched her into a damn coma and stole a gun. Reports stated that Nicholas had previously attempted to sneak Shanks into the courtroom via his shoes. Nicholas then changed into civilian clothes, originally intended for the use during the trial, and entered the courthouse, where he entered the chambers of Judge Roland Barnes. On his way to Barnes' chambers, Nicholas encountered case managers Susan Christie and Gina Clark Thomas, as well as attorney David Alman, whom he held at gunpoint and demanded directions to Barnes' location. During this time, Sergeant Grantley White entered the courtroom and attempted to disarm Nichols but failed and was forced to handcuff the others. White managed to set off an alarm, which Nichols attempted to dispel using White's radio. Nichols later progressed into the courtroom where he shot Barnes, as well as court reporter Julia Brandeau. So Nichols was very calculating. He proceeded to go. He knew who he wanted to kill. He wanted to kill the judge. He spared other people's lives, but he wanted to kill the judge. So he killed Judge Barnes, as well as the court reporter, Julia Brandeau. He later shot Sergeant Hoyt Teasley while escaping from the courthouse. Nichols carjacked several vehicles during his escape and was featured on America's Most Wanted during this manhunt. Attempts to find Nichols were largely unsuccessful, and it was reported that Nichols had attempted to kidnap a young woman as she was walking home from a gymnasium she regularly attended. Nichols fled after hearing the young woman call 911 after her boyfriend defended her. Later that day, Nichols somehow gets into ICE agent David G. Wilhelm house. I don't know how Nichols found this guy, but this guy was they say an ICE agent, some type of federal law enforcement agent, FBI, something like that. Brian Nichols somehow found this guy, shot him in his home, shot him dead, and stole his gun, stole his badge, and stole his pickup truck and took off. And that's when he went to this female's house. Some people say he knew this female. Anyway, he went to this female house. The female said that he followed her at her door and forced his way into her apartment. But anyway, so this guy, Brian Nichols, and to make it so, and I was working at the Georgia Dome when this happened, and I remember it very well. And I remember Brian Nichols stating that he did this for his people. And it kind of made me think of Tupac when Tupac said, "I wanted to do these white judges like us." So Brian Nichols killed the judge, killed the federal agent, killed the court reporter, killed another sheriff's deputy or officer. And these are the people that are locking black men up and giving them hard, long sentences. And it just struck a chord when Brian Nichols said, "I did this for my people." So you can imagine that a lot of young disenfranchised people would gravitate towards that and make him out to be a martyr. Especially the so-called thugs in the hip-hop community would gravitate towards that. But yeah, that was Brian Nichols. What do you think? Is he a hero or a villain? You decide. But I did this because we need not to forget. I won't forget this guy. Happened in Atlanta. And it takes somebody, it takes balls to do what he did. He ain't talking, he ain't making videos, he ain't making YouTube videos, he ain't marching. He just took out about 4 law officials. I would say 2 of them all 3 was white, one was black. And, but yeah, what do you think? You think he a hero or do you think he's a villain?